Poor men wait to feel powerful. Rich men build systems that move even when they feel nothing. That is the difference. One man watches a video, feels dangerous for 1 hour, writes a plan, imagines a new identity, then collapses the moment doubt returns. Another man wakes up tired, unsupported, ignored, and uncertain, but the system still tells him what to do. The first man is governed by mood. The second man is governed by structure. And this is why many ambitious men stay broke, invisible, and inconsistent even when they are not lazy. They do not lack hunger. They lack a machine that protects action when hunger disappears. Because motivation creates movement only when emotion is high. Systems create movement when emotion is dead. And if you do not understand this, you will keep blaming your identity for failures that structure could have corrected. You will say, "I am lazy." You will say, "I am inconsistent." You will say, "I am not disciplined enough." You will say, "Maybe I am not built for this." But the colder truth is this: a man without a system cannot accurately judge himself. He does not know whether he is weak or simply unstructured. He does not know whether he lacks discipline or whether his life has never been designed to force discipline into action. He does not know whether he is failing because he has no potential or because his potential is leaking through 1,000 small openings every day. The phone in the morning, the scattered work session, the skill he studies but never packages, the proof he never publishes, the buyer he never contacts, the rejection he takes personally instead of measuring, the day he never reviews. This is how men lose years. Not through one dramatic collapse, through small, repeated surrenders that look harmless in the moment and become destiny over time. That is why motivation feels so seductive. Motivation gives you the illusion of change before your life has produced evidence. It lets you feel powerful without becoming reliable. It lets you imagine victory without building the machine that can survive fatigue, doubt, pressure, silence, and rejection. And this is the trap. A motivated man can still be dependent on the right mood, dependent on people believing in him, dependent on perfect conditions, dependent on confidence, dependent on emotional fire. But a structured man has removed negotiation from the battlefield. He does not wake up and ask, "Do I feel ready today?" He wakes up and asks, "What does the system require today?" That question changes everything. Because readiness is unstable, feeling is unstable, support is unstable, approval is unstable. But a system can remain when all of them disappear. This is why poor men chase motivation, while rich men build systems. The poor man is not always poor because he is stupid. Often he is poor because his actions are emotional. He moves when he feels inspired. He stops when he feels unseen. He starts when someone believes in him. He quits when life becomes silent. He calls it discipline, but it is really mood dependency wearing a masculine mask. The rich man understands something colder. Power does not come from intensity. Power comes from repeatability. Trust does not come from one emotional performance. Trust comes from a system that performs again and again and again. FedEx is not powerful because one man felt inspired once. Federal Express began operations in Memphis on April 17, 1973, with 389 team members, 14 aircraft, and 186 packages delivered to 25 cities in the United States on the first night. The first proof was small, but the structure mattered. Repeatable delivery, repeatable routing, repeatable trust. A bold idea had to prove itself in the real world, not through speeches, not through motivation, not through emotional belief, through a delivery system. That is the lesson most men miss. A market does not trust your potential. A market trusts proof. And proof comes from repeated output under a structure that can be inspected. One delivery does not create an empire. One strong day does not create a new life. One motivated week does not create freedom. Repeated performance creates trust. Repeated trust creates reputation. Repeated reputation creates opportunity. And opportunity, when handled correctly, becomes leverage. Andrew Carnegie shows the same law from the bottom. PBS records that Carnegie worked as a bobbin boy for $1.20 a week, then later as a messenger boy in a telegraph office. He was poor, young, and replaceable. He did not begin with status. He did not begin with applause. He did not begin with a powerful name. He began by becoming useful inside the smallest available system. Reliability, speed, competence, pattern. That was the first proof. Before Carnegie became powerful in larger arenas, he became consistently useful in smaller ones. That is not romantic. That is strategic. Because before status, a man must build repeated usefulness. Before recognition, he must build evidence. Before power, he must build command. And this is where unsupported men must become honest. Pain does not make you rare. Potential does not make you valuable. Being misunderstood does not make you powerful. The world may have ignored you. Your family may not understand you. Your friends may doubt you. Society may not care about your ambition. But none of that creates proof. The market does not pay for your hidden hunger. It pays for visible value. It pays for solved problems. It pays for delivery. It pays for competence that can be seen, judged, trusted, and repeated. That is why motivation is too weak to govern a serious life. Motivation can start movement, but systems protect movement. Motivation can light the fire, but systems build the engine. Motivation makes you feel like a different man. Systems force you to act like one. This is why you need more than inspiration. You need a personal operating system for learning, outreach, delivery, money, content, and reputation. Not a collection of quotes. Not emotional relief. Not another video that makes you feel powerful for 1 hour. A structure that tells you what to do when you are tired. A structure that tells you what to do when nobody claps. A structure that tells you what to do when buyers ignore you. A structure that tells you what to do when rejection appears. A structure that tells you what to correct when your day exposes weakness. If this is the kind of truth you came here for, subscribe now, because this channel is not built for comfort. It is built for men who want command. Machiavelli understood this better than modern motivational culture ever will. Not as a motivational symbol, not as a villain, as a realist. Niccolo Machiavelli wrote in a world where states collapsed, rulers were removed, alliances shifted, and weakness had consequences. He was not interested in how power should work in a perfect world. He studied how power survives in the real one. Modern people often turn him into a shallow symbol of manipulation. That is a weak reading. Machiavelli was colder than that. He understood that intention without force is fragile. Desire without discipline is fragile. Virtue without structure is fragile. In Discourses on Livy, Machiavelli writes, "Where good discipline prevails, there also will good order prevail, and good fortune rarely fails to follow in their train." The original context is Rome, military order, and political strength. We do not distort this into violence. We apply the principle carefully. Order creates repeatable action. Repeatable action attracts better outcomes. Good fortune does not always obey you, but disorder almost always punishes you. This is what poor men miss. They think success comes from feeling strong. But strength that depends on feeling is not strength. It is weather. And a man who lets weather govern his future should not be shocked when his life remains unstable. A system is different. A system tells you to control the first hour. It tells you to block deep work. It tells you to train one skill. It tells you to produce proof. It tells you to contact the market. It tells you to track rejection. It tells you to review the day. It tells you to correct the weakness, then repeat tomorrow. No speech, no hype, no emotional ceremony, just command. And here is the colder truth. Your old belief was, I need motivation. Replace it with, I need a system that moves when motivation disappears. Your old belief was, I am inconsistent. Replace it with, my life has not yet been structured for repeated execution. Your old belief was, I need confidence first. Replace it with, confidence follows proof, and proof follows repeated action. Your old belief was, I need support. Replace it with, I need structure strong enough to operate without support. Your old belief was, I need to become disciplined. Replace it with, I need systems that make discipline unavoidable. This is the shift. You are not a weak man waiting to feel powerful. You are an unstructured man who must become dangerous to his own disorder. Not dangerous to people, dangerous to excuses, dangerous to delay, dangerous to the old identity that needed emotion before action. But once you accept that motivation is unstable, the harder question appears. What system actually replaces it in your real day? Because a man does not rise from a philosophy he admires. He rises from a structure he obeys. The system has 6 tools, but they fight only 3 wars. First, command over the day. Second, proof in the market. Third, correction when weakness returns. Without all 3, you do not have discipline. You have temporary intensity. And temporary intensity is exactly what has been keeping ambitious men trapped. The first war is command over the day. If you lose the first hour, you do not merely lose time, you lose authority. Because the first hour teaches your mind who rules. If the first act of the day is surrender, the rest of the day becomes negotiation. You open the phone, you answer messages, you absorb noise. You look at other people's lives before you have touched your own mission. You allow the world to enter your command center before you have given yourself an order. Then you wonder why your day feels scattered. That is not an accident, that is training. Every weak morning trains your mind to obey external pressure before internal command. Every delayed start trains your identity to accept disorder. Every distracted first hour tells your future, wait. Most men do not lose because of one massive failure. They lose through small permissions. 5 minutes of scrolling, 1 harmless notification, 1 delayed task, 1 excuse that sounds reasonable. 1 morning where they say, I will start later. Then later becomes afternoon. Afternoon becomes fatigue. Fatigue becomes guilt. Guilt becomes another promise, and another promise becomes another failed identity. This is why the morning war protocol exists. Wake without negotiation. No phone for the first hour. Move your body. Review your mission. Begin the first serious task. Do not make this mystical. Do not turn it into performance. It is not about becoming perfect. It is about taking back the first territory of the day. A man who cannot command his first hour should not pretend he commands his future. The first hour is not just time. It is a signal. It tells your mind, I do not need to feel ready before I act. Readiness is built through command. But controlling the first hour is not enough. A clean morning means nothing if the rest of the day becomes scattered. This is where the second battlefield appears. Most men do not need more time. They need protected time. They need a block where weakness cannot interrupt them. This is the purpose of the 4-hour isolation block. Not permanent isolation. Strategic isolation. A controlled period where 1 goal, 1 tool, and 1 output dominate. Because serious output requires depth, and depth requires separation from noise. The modern man is not only distracted, he is owned by messages, owned by notifications, owned by other people's urgency, owned by the fear of missing out, owned by the need to check whether anyone has seen him, liked him, answered him, approved him. A man who is always reachable is rarely dangerous. He is available before he is valuable. And this is how ambition becomes scattered. He watches, he saves, he plans, he switches, he plans, he switches, he consumes. He studies one method, then another, then another. At the end of the day, his mind is full of information, but his life is empty of proof. That is how men stay poor while feeling busy. Busy is often disorder with good branding. The 4-hour isolation block destroys that illusion. One room, one goal, one tool, no phone, no messages, no task switching. Output before consumption. This is where skill grows. This is where assets are built. This is where the offer is written. This is where the market is studied. This is where the video is created. This is where the page is built. This is where the proof begins to exist outside your imagination. You do not need the world to understand you during those hours. You need the world to lose access to you. Because attention is not a small thing. Attention is command. And wherever your attention goes, your future begins to form. But output alone is still not enough. A man can work hard and still repeat the same weakness every day if he never reviews himself. That is why the system needs judgment. Night court. A man who never reviews his day repeats his weakness with confidence. He feels bad, then distracts himself. He fails, then forgets. He drifts, then calls it life. He has emotion, but no evidence. He has regret, but no correction. He has ambition, but no internal court. Without review, you cannot separate effort from illusion. You do not know what you produced. You do not know what you avoided. You do not know where you acted weak. You do not know what moved you closer to money. You do not know what must be corrected tomorrow. So weakness escapes judgment, and whatever escapes judgment returns stronger. Night court is simple. At the end of the day, ask yourself, what did I produce today? What did I avoid today? Where did I act weak? What moved me closer to money? What must be corrected tomorrow? No drama, no self-hatred, no comfort, judgment, correction, comfort, judgment, correction, command. This is how a bad day becomes data instead of identity damage. Your old belief was, I had a bad day. Replace it with, my day produced evidence and I will judge it. But even this is incomplete. Because command over your day means nothing if your skill has no economic form. A man with no monetizable skill is not unlucky. He is exposed. This is where many ambitious men lie to themselves. They want income, but have no skill attached to a painful problem. They want freedom, but cannot yet create value strangers will pay for. They want respect, but have built nothing visible. They want opportunity, but cannot explain the result they can create. Pain will not save you. Potential will not save you. Hunger will not save you. The market pays for value. Writing, scripting, editing, design, copywriting, landing pages, lead generation, sales outreach, artificial intelligence workflows. Choose one, train it, attach it to a buyer's pain. This is the skill sprint. From day 1 to day 10, you study the fundamentals. From day 11 to day 30, you copy strong examples and learn the structure behind them. From day 31 to day 60, you create daily practice outputs. From day 61 to day 75, you build sample projects. From day 76 to day 90, you package the skill into an offer. This is how learning stops being entertainment and becomes economic preparation. Because private learning does not create trust. Visible proof does. That is the next battlefield. Talent does not get paid when nobody can see it. Proof does. This is why the proof pack matters. Strangers do not trust you because they cannot see your competence. They cannot inspect your discipline. They cannot feel your potential. They can only judge evidence. Without proof, you sound like every other beginner. I am passionate. I am hardworking. I can help. I just need a chance. Weak signals. They put the burden on the buyer to believe you. A proofless man is always begging, even when his words sound confident. Because beneath every message is the same request. Trust me without evidence. The market rarely rewards that. The proof pack changes the position. 3 sample projects. 1 before and after breakdown. 1 short case study. 1 clear offer page. 1 simple price list. 1 outreach message. Now you are no longer asking to be believed. You are giving the market something to judge. That is power. Not because everyone will say yes, they will not. But because you have stopped hiding behind potential. You have turned competence into evidence. And evidence is the language of trust. But proof hidden in private is not power. A hidden portfolio does not feed you. A silent offer does not test itself. A skill that never touches the market remains fantasy. That is why the final tool is the outreach tracker. Cold outreach is only pathetic when you bring need instead of value. One message says, "Please rescue me." Another message says, "I studied your problem and I have a useful angle." Those are not the same. If you never contact the market, you never get data. No replies, no objections, no pricing feedback, no buyer language, no proof that your offer matters. Private ambition gives you no intelligence. Market contact does. Most men avoid outreach because it exposes them. Silence feels like judgment. Rejection feels personal. A weak reply feels humiliating. But this is exactly why outreach is necessary. It destroys fantasy and replaces it with data. The outreach tracker asks, who did I contact? What did I offer? Did they respond? What objection appeared? What pattern repeats? What must be improved? And the rule is simple. Do not change your identity after rejection. Change your message, your offer, your targeting, or your proof. Rejection is not identity feedback, it is system feedback. That one belief can save a man years of emotional collapse. Because the weak man gets rejected and says, I am not enough. The structured man gets rejected and says, which part of the system failed? That is the difference between emotional living and strategic living. Now the full mechanism appears. Morning command, deep work, night judgment, skill sprint, proof pack, market contact, correction. This is the system that replaces motivation. Motivation gives you emotion. Systems give you execution. Execution creates proof. Proof creates trust. Trust creates opportunity. Opportunity creates income. Income creates leverage. Leverage creates freedom. But it begins with structure, not mood, not belief, not approval, not emotional fire. Structure. FedEx became trusted, became repeatable. Carnegie rose because usefulness became repeatable. Machiavelli studied power because power does not survive on intention. It survives on order, preparation, reputation, and result. Machiavelli writes in The Prince, fortune is the arbiter of one half of our actions, but she still leaves us to direct the other half. The political context is fortune and human affairs, not modern self-improvement. But the limited application is exact. You do not control all conditions. You do not control who supports you. You do not control who doubts you. You do not control the market's mood. You do not control timing, luck, silence, rejection, or the opinions of people who never had the courage to build anything themselves. But the territory left to you must be governed. Your first hour, your attention, your skill, your proof, your outreach, your review, your correction. If you do not govern that half, fortune will govern more than half. And a man who refuses command over what he can control has no right to complain about what he cannot control. This is the real lesson. Poor men wait to feel powerful because they are still emotionally negotiating with action. Rich men build systems because they understand action must be protected from emotion. The old identity says, I will move when I feel strong. The new identity says, I move because the system requires it. The old identity says, I need someone to believe in me. The new identity says, I will build proof until belief becomes rational. The old identity says, rejection means I am not good enough. The new identity says, rejection tells me what must be corrected. The old identity says, I need motivation. The new identity says, I need structure. This is how an unsupported man stops begging life for permission. He no longer waits for his family to understand. He no longer waits for friends to clap. He no longer waits for society to notice. He becomes consistent enough to become undeniable. Not loud, not emotional, not desperate, undeniable. If this video gave you the truth you needed, subscribe to this channel now. Not for comfort, but for command. And if you are ready to build the system that replaces motivation, the course link is in the pinned comment and in the description. Do not join for inspiration. Do not join because you feel emotional right now. Do not join because this video made you feel powerful for a moment. Join only if you are ready to build a personal operating system for learning, outreach, delivery, money, content, and reputation. Because a man who lives by mood will always restart. A man who lives by structure compounds. And the world does not reward the man who feels the most. It rewards the man whose system keeps moving when he feels nothing.